Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Virginia SBDC's webinar series, Google and Beyond, Marketing and Managing on the Web. This series is designed to take a look at tools and techniques to help small businesses take their business to the next level. Today's webinar is Blogger, the small business blog tool by Google. All of our webinars are presented by Ray Sidney Smith, web and mobile strategist and author of Slow, Low-Mo Success, Social Media, Local, and Web Small Business Marketing Strategy Explained, and president of W3 Consulting, a digital business strategy and training firm that helps businesses learn why and how to use the web, mobile, and digital technology for greater marketing and managing impact. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type those into the question window and Ray will do his best to answer them. Without further ado, here's Ray Sidney Smith.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you to the Virginia SBDC Network for having me here on the Beyond Google Marketing and Managing on the Web series. Today, as Tracy said, we're going to be talking about Blogger, and we'll be talking about it as a small business blog tool. And so just a couple of housekeeping items. As Tracy said, you can ask as many questions as you'd like here today on the webinar, and I'll be happy to answer those questions in the time that we have. And if you have questions afterward, feel free to go ahead and send those questions at W3 Consulting on Twitter, and I'll feel free to answer those questions as they come. Also go ahead and follow at Virginia SBDC Network, at Virginia SBDC, for getting the network's notices about future webinars and other kinds of information that they have out there for Virginia small business. So today's agenda is pretty simple. We're going to talk about how to launch a Blogger blog, and that's really just a couple minutes. And you'll see how easy it is to do that. But then we'll go behind the scenes into Blogger and really talk about its setup so that it's set up correctly for small business, because while Blogger is a very simple tool for a consumer blog, it's a little bit more technical when it comes to making sure you have all the sort of T's crossed and the I's dotted for making sure that it's set up for your small business correctly if you are going to use it as a small business blogging tool. And then we're going to go over the overview and the setup of Feedburner, which is a feed management tool, and I'll explain a little bit about what that is when we get to it and why it's really important. And if I have any audio issues this morning, just let me know and I'll swap over, but for some reason I feel like I'm having some connectivity issues, so if you can't hear me or something like that, just let Tracy know and I will swap over to another line in order to be able to best communicate with you. So let's get started. We're going to jump right into Blogger, and I'm going to show you how we launch a small business blog. So if this would work for me, let's see. I don't think it will let me do this while I'm in screen mode, so let's just hop over there. All right, so what I'm doing right now is I'm heading over to Blogger. So if you just go to blog.com, it'll ask you to go ahead and log in. So at this point, you're going to need a Google account, and you can see that I've already done that and logged in. I'm not going to go over that today, but I've gone over to many prior webinars. So if you see any of the prior webinars where we've discussed it, you basically have to have a Google account. A couple of things about Google accounts is that when you go to blogger.com, you can easily create a Google account with your own email address. A lot of people don't realize that, so don't go thinking that you need your own a Gmail account in order to necessarily have a Blogger account. You can use your own email, so you can have your business email, your name at yourbusiness.com as your Google account, and that'll let you go ahead and log right into Blogger without a problem. So when you get into Blogger, you see this dashboard, and it'll ask you a couple of setup items when you initially create Blogger, but that really doesn't make any difference. The point is to get to this screen, which is the Blogger dashboard. And here it's going to say, these are your blogs, because Blogger allows you to be able to manage many different blogs at one time. I'm only going to talk about running one, so I want to make sure that we're sort of in the same place. I'm going to go in and just go ahead and delete this test blog I had running and that I was playing with, and we'll go through and just create a new blog. So here we are at the Blogger home, and you can see here on the left-hand side panel we have new blog. Okay, so if you were fresh to Blogger, you would just have this, and it would ask you to go ahead and create a new blog. We're going to go ahead and we're going to click on New Blog. It's going to ask us to place a title for the blog. So in this case, I'm going to give it a title for my new blog and say I'm going to just call it my small business blog. And then it's going to ask you for an address. This is the address that you would need to go to in order to see the live blog. And you can see that it has the .blogspot.com extension to it. We're going to talk about why we're not going to use that in the future. But for now, we're just going to create the address that we're going to use in the setup process. So in this particular case, I'm going to call it the small business blog. And then if it's not available, I'm just going to put test. There we go. It gives me an available blogspot URL, subdomain. And I'm just going to pick a template from here. These templates are basically the way in which your blog will be displayed to your audience once it goes live. Now this can be edited and played with over time so that you can customize it and make it look your own. But for now, we just want to pick something to start with. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the dynamic views one, which I happen to like. And I'm going to click on Create Blog here at the bottom of the screen. And now it's doing some kind of magic mojo in the Google world, and it's creating my blog. Now the interesting thing about that is that that's really the whole first step. You just launched a blog in the course of time of just those 3 steps. Well, 4 steps. You clicked on New Blog, you give it a title, you give an address, you select a template, and you click the Create Blog button. And that's it. Your blog is created. There's no other real technical manifestation that you need to worry about when it comes to Blogger and Blogspot. So that's it. That's how you create a blog. All right? So now that we know how to create blogs in Blogger, which is really simple, we're going to really talk about some of the more technical things over the course of the next hour with regard to how to set it up really as a small business and really make it your own piece of real estate on the web so that you can continue to put out good content and have an effective content strategy for your consumers. We're not going to talk about content and content strategy, but we know from past conversations that's important. So here we are. We see that you have your new small business blog here. It asks you to start posting. You can, of course, launch and start posting from there and get started with your blogging efforts. In the dashboard here, you're going to see a couple of different views. Here you have a reading list, and the reading list below your blogs are basically all the other blogs that you follow and that you might want to go ahead and read along with, you know, your other blog, your regular blogs. I'm not going to go into that because it's a completely tangential to what we're talking about today, but just know it's there. It's your reading list. So here in your blog area, you know, your blog dashboard, you have the title of your blog. If you click on that, that's going to take you to your dashboard for that specific blog. To the right of that, if you click on this button, the little pencil icon, it will go ahead and launch a new post so you can start blogging immediately. To the right of that, there is a post list button, and that allows you to go and see a list of all of your blog entries, and then you can manipulate them from that post list. Next is you have a more options drop down, and we're going to actually go through each of these items once we go into the settings dashboard very soon. And then, of course, you can click on the view blog, and that will take you to the live blog that I just launched. And I'm going to do that just so that you can see. So in front of you now, you should see Small Business Blog at the top left-hand corner, and you can see that this is the dynamic views template that I'm using. So it gives me a couple of different, not a couple, many different dynamic views that I can use in order to see the blog in different ways. So if I want it to be in a classic style, I can leave it the way it is. I can click on flip card and it'll turn it into little card style blog posts. Magazine, it'll turn it, make it look like a magazine. Mosaic, you get the idea. So this is the live blog. As I put on new posts, it will of course start to display the posts in a feed. Many times one of the big questions I get when I do these discussions about Blogger, Blogspot, and or WordPress or any other blogging is, what is a blog? So if you do have that question, I'll answer that now. A blog is a publication. You can almost think of it like a newspaper, magazine, or any other kind of periodical. The blog itself is different than those because each individual article is that you would write on the blog, or say in a newspaper, each article in the newspaper, different than a printed newspaper, is its own web page on the web. And therefore it's indexed by Google, and that provides more web traffic to you. So the more pages you have, therefore, ergo, the more blog articles you have, the more web traffic, presumably, your website will go ahead and garner. And of course, the more website traffic, the more exposure your business gets, and therefore more sales. Okay? So that's what a blog is, and that's why we place so much importance on the creation of something that is your website, your blog, and controlling that kind of traffic. So when we talk about creating a Blogger blog, and you see that it says small business blog test.blogspot.com, that's a real problem for me, because I want you to be able to control your real estate. I don't care what tool you use, as long as you're creating a place where you can control those links, because it's all about the hyperlinking, that is the URL, in this case it's smallbusinessblogtest.blogspot.com. Well, someday Blogger might go away. Someday Google might decide that Blogger is no longer useful to them, and you don't want to lose all of that marketing effort that you've put into in creating those blog posts. So one of the first things we're going to talk about here is going into the dashboard and really taking care of that issue. Okay, so let's go on in. We're going to click on either the title here. You can enter it from many different places, but we're just going to this name the blog. You can see what we're now in is your specific Blogger dashboard. Tracy, do you hear me okay? I just got a notification that my audio dipped. So
You're back now. You did dip, but you're back now.
okay, wonderful. So I'll repeat myself. We're at the small business blog dashboard here. This is the blog that I created a couple of minutes ago. And the blog itself is going to give us some basic information on the dashboard, very similar to your car's dashboard. You want to be able to see some basic information right up front. So here they're going to show you page views. Excuse me. They're going to show you page views for that particular week, and you can, of course, look at more statistics and data as you move along. And then it's, of course, going to give you some more information about Blogger itself and what's going on with Blogger right here in the news from Blogger. So the Googlers there at Google, Googlers are the employees at Google, and Googlers at Google will give you notifications about new things that can happen on your blog using the Blogger tool. On the right-hand side page, it gives you some updates regarding what's sort of happening in a near real-time fashion. Okay, so it can tell you how many posts you have, how many comments that are awaiting moderation, all that fun stuff. And then down on the right-hand side, you can see that Blogger has a mobile app, so you can download on your smartphone, whether that be Android or iOS, an application, and therefore you can blog right from the road. You can be on the sidewalk and type away your blog entries. That can include taking photographs and video and all sorts of other fun stuff. Okay. In the bottom right-hand corner here, you have these really great little user guides that Blogger has created. So if you want to be able to do anything on Blogger and you can't really figure out what's what, you want to go ahead and jump over to the Blogger guide, and it will likely tell you what you can do in terms of setting up Blogger for that particular item. Okay, so I'm gonna actually go down the left-hand side panel, and down at the bottom here you have an area called Settings. So I'm going to click on Settings. In Settings, we're just going to go through a couple of different items just to get started. First and foremost, let's start with the title of the blog. Okay, so in the very beginning, I just wanted to pick a title, and I knew that I needed to pick something, so I jumped at Small Business Blog. And where this might actually be effective for me as the small business blog, if I were a small business consultant or something like that wanted to talk about just small business, that would be great. Now, for you and your small business, you really want to decide what your blog name is. And while I spend many, many hours discussing this with businesses, one of the quick and easy ways to really think about that is that if you have a tagline for your business, that usually lends itself easily to being a blog title. Okay? So think about it from that perspective. So if your business has a tagline, then that's what it is. It's really the core values that you're providing, or the core value that you're providing as a business. What is the core value of your product or service, or products or services? Okay? And that's pretty much what you're trying to convey here. So in particular cases, you might decide that your business name is going to be your blog because that's what you want it to be. I'd really recommend that you think a little bit more creatively than that and give it something a little bit separate, sort of a separate branding from that, a sub-branding of it, so for many different reasons. And so that blog, like for my own company, I'm W3 Consulting, and our tagline is Web and Beyond. And because I'm consistently talking about W3, W3 is World Wide Web, the 3 W's, World Wide Web. And so it's really quite, plain to understand that we're, World Wide Web consultants, we're website consultants. And so we deal with web and mobile strategy. And so explaining that to people sometimes is a little bit more difficult because they don't recognize the W3 and so on and so forth. So we decided to talk, just allowing it to say Web and Beyond, and then Web and Beyond for small business, depending upon where we might be and what we might be using. So we have different taglines for different situations. But our blog is called Web and Beyond blog because we are talking about the web and beyond. So that ends up being the title of our blog. You want to really pick something that works for you. So you can go in here at any time and you can go ahead and change that title to be something that's applicable to your audience, that's going to speak to your audience and make them interested in searching for you, looking for you, and so on and so forth. This description area, which wasn't an option when we started the blog in the initial start screen, this is the description that will show up in the meta tag area, the meta or the head tag area of your website, of your blog's, sort of website page. And this is the area where you really want to be able to display keyword-rich description, a keyword-rich description about what you're going to be talking about on the blog, okay? So if we're talking about your product or service on the blog, then you want to make sure that you talk about your product or service on the blog, but give a good description so people know what they're getting. This is going to show up on Google underneath the name of your blog's title. It will show up underneath that and give that description of what people are looking for. And as well, when people are actually within the Blogger network, they'll see that description as well. This is important because you want to be able to make sure that you put the best face forward for the blog as much as for the business. And this description is one of those first impressions that people will be able to get. Next is privacy for the blog. Now here we have several different options. You can see that it says privacy, add your blog to our listings. That means Blogger lists you as a Blogger blog. Some people do or don't want that. I would recommend that you leave yourself in there. And second is to let search engines find your blog. That is an absolute yes. There would be no reason why you would want to use a Blogger blog and not be search engine listed, okay? So if you're going to decide to do some kind of blog where you're not going to be listed, maybe a private blog or something like that where you're going to do that in a secure environment, I'd really recommend that you choose another tool. But since you're a small business and you're marketing with this blog, therefore both are going to be most likely yes. If you have questions about why you think you might be a no, feel free to touch base with me afterward or ask a question, and I'd be happy to answer those questions. All right. So next up is publishing. You can see here that the blog address that I created in the initial setup, this small business blog test.blogspot.com, it can be edited. So if for some reason you decided to change that title and you wanted it to be another subdomain of Blogspot, you can go ahead and do that. But for the most part, I really don't care about that title anymore because I want to set up a third-party URL, which is this little link right below here, for my blog. The reason for that, I told you earlier, if Blogger decides to shut down, if Blogger decides to move, if something happens, you want to be able to control your content and, of course, control the links associated with all the blog posts that you've put together. So Google doesn't really know when you've moved until when someone clicks on a link in their search engine and they get to a dead end. Basically, they show up and they don't see a spot on where this particular blog post should have been. When Google sees that, they get very upset. They get just ticked off. And what they do is they start to drop your rankings because of that missing page. But in this particular case, you don't even get that opportunity because in this particular case, your blog will just disappear from Blogger's network because it is blog, right? It is Blogger. It's Google's product. So what we want to do is we want to just make sure that we secure our future by setting up a third-party domain for us. So this requires some technical, sort of know-how, but just bear with me. In this particular case, you're going to choose your small business domain as your likely property. So what you're going to do here is you're going to go to your web host or your domain registrar, to be more specific. You're going to go to the people that you've registered your domain with. Sometimes it's the same as your host. And you're going to go ahead and create what's called a CNAME record. Okay, this is going to create a subdomain, and what that means is that you're going to be blog.yoursmallbusiness.com. Okay, so in my case it would be blog.w3cinc.com. Okay, and so you're just adding this what's called a CNAME record, and it's just going to be the word blog, and now you have your blog.yourbusiness.com, and that will become the URL for your blog here on blogger.com. There's no additional cost, and if you already have a domain name registered with your domain registrar for your business, so you have a website and your website's humming along, there's no change to the website. Okay, so it's not going to take your website down. It's not going to affect your website in any way, shape, or form. All it's going to do is that when someone types in blog.yourbusinessname.com, they're going to be taken here to Blogger to view the blog. Okay, and that means each of your entries is going to be blog.yourbusinessname.com / the title of the blog. Again, now you can see how important that is, because say that Google decides to shut Blogger down tomorrow and you have 500 posts here. Well, all you need to do is export these posts, upload them to a new service, and change the domain, the CNAME record, to point to the new service. And so blog.yourbusinessname.com / blog, your blog titles for the 500 posts now move in the blink of an eye without you having to worry about losing lots and lots of traffic, because once Google shuts down the service, you know, your blog.blogspot.com won't exist anymore. Okay, it'll just go nowhere. So, and also the reality is that say someday you decide to move this blog. Blogger may be around for a very long time, likely will. But say that you decide to move from here to your own blog on your own website. Well, that would be a lot of effort to do all the work in the background to regain the traffic that you lost from those links, because Google is not going to give you the opportunity to 301 redirect, basically tell Google to redirect those Blogspot links away from Blogger and to your new blog. They're not going to do it. So you want to make sure that you get yourself set up there. So make sure that you set up the blog.yourbusinessname.com here. You'll see the instructions that they provide. They give very good instructions. You just click on the link. It'll take you to an article that will set you up, and you'll be good to go there in terms of setting that all up. Okay? If you have any trouble with that, feel free to just reach out to the Blogger community. There are so many people here in the Blogger community that are more than willing to help you. You can see here that there's a gear icon in the top right-hand corner. Just click on Blogger Help, and you'll be good to go. They'll take care of you. All right. Next up is I'm gonna actually jump screens to just one other additional item that we really want to pay attention to in the course of these things. One is actually I'm going to continue down here, and then I'll jump off course for just a moment. So here we have permissions right below that. So you've set up your blog address to now be blog.yourbusiness.com, and you want to make sure that you have all the right blog authors associated. So in this particular case, this is a test account that I've created, a Gmail account that I use for these kinds of demonstrations, and you can see that it's just a plain old, demo account. I click on Add Authors, and I can go ahead and actually add my real account, a real Google account, to this. And so I can go ahead and invite the author to it. And now what you can see is I've just typed in the email address of the account that I wanted, and my phone is showing me right here next to me that I've got an invitation to join this blog. And now this author can be added here to the blog authors with permission to blog on this blog. This is really important because as you go through time, you'll want to make sure that you have the right people involved in content creation on the blog. So maybe you want to invite a guest author to post once a month. Maybe you have several people on staff, and those people on staff are going to be people that you want to be on blogging regularly. And here you can, of course, give them those kinds of access controls. And you can give them some access. You can give them limited access so they can just write content, so that they can have administrative access and different kinds of variations in between. Okay, so here you can have those controls over that. Okay, switching gears just quickly, we're going to jump over to the left-hand side panel, and you can see here that there's a Google Plus link. And here, this is really important because Google Plus and Google, of course, are working very heavily to make sure that a lot of the information that's being published on all of their networks are being interspliced, basically interlaced together with Google Plus. So Google is working very hard to make sure that that happens, and you'll see that. You'll click on many different things now in many of Google's products, and you'll be taken to the Google Plus profile that you created, or that you should have created. All right. If you haven't created one, it's going to ask you to create one at that time. So in this particular case, if I click on Google Plus, you can see that it says Get More from Blogger with Google Plus, and expand your audience, manage comments in one place, and so on and so forth. This is really going to be important, not for any of those reasons, but primarily because now Google is going to connect your profile, your in this specific case, I have this small business blogger profile. It's going to connect that person, which is you. So you'll want to make sure your profile is set up, and I'll show you that in a moment. You're going to make sure that you merge those two profiles, and now whenever you post a blog entry, when someone finds it in the search engine, it's going to show a picture of you or your business logo or whatever it is that you set up for your profile image, and your name or business name, and it's going to represent that imagery to the world better. In general, I recommend that you actually use your own picture, a picture of you, a headshot of you, a professional headshot, and your name as the author, because in most cases that's going to generate more traffic to the website because people see a real person and a real face than just a logo for a business. Okay, so the blog itself can have its own imagery for the business, but you as the individual should have your own image picture and your own professional image associated with it, and so on and so forth. So let's click on Get Started. And you can see here it says, you're now seen as a blogger profile here. Would you like to now be seen as a Google Plus profile here? And it just asks you to commit to those things and then click on the switch now. And now you can see what it's going to do is it's going to add this little link that says I'm a contributor to the blog that I just created onto my Google Plus profile. I'm going to click on Add Blogs. And any new ones that I create will also then be added there. And voila, it's now selected taken the selected blogs and it's added it to my Google Plus profile. And now what happens is whenever I go ahead and contribute to this blog, it will connect my Google Plus profile back to Google's search engine index. And when someone does a search, it's going to show my face along with my post and on whatever blogs that I might be blogging on. And that, of course, is going to bring more people to the blog because people see a real face, a real person, and not some automated blog post engine that's just churning out content. So just pay attention to that. Okay, so we're going to go back to the small business blog dashboard. And I'm going to take us back to settings, okay? So what I've just taken you down was the basic settings, and then I jumped up to Google+. But now we're going to go down to posts and comments. A couple things about posts and comments. You can see that you can choose to show at most X number of posts or X number of days of posts on that main page of your blog. Okay, so you can go ahead and decide on what that's going to look like. And so in most cases, people put something between 5 and 10 posts. Some people, if they do much longer posts, they might put 3. Some people, if they do really short posts or photo posts, they might put more up there. Okay, so I'm going to choose 3 because I tend to write longer posts than not. You can also add a post template, and the post template, as you can see here, it allows you to actually pre-format the text code here. In this case, I'm not going to go over that, but it's just a little bit of coding language to allow you to be able to pre-flight the post with some styling. You can also use what's called lightboxing. Lightbox is when you hover over an image, and instead of it taking you to a new page or you having to click on it at all, a little bit of coding, a little bit of web language in the background knows that you've hovered your cursor over that icon or that image, forgive me, and it will then pop up the image in a larger format. Okay, so you may want that, you may not want that. In this case, you get the option to be able to do it. I happen to like it, so I'm going to leave it. Next, down in the commenting section, you have the ability to embed comments or to have your comments show in a full page pop-up and so on and so forth. What that means is that you can go ahead and have the comments show up in different ways. I'm going to leave mine as embedded because I don't particularly mind having the comments feed and flow right below the page. Some people, if you get lots and lots of comments, you might want to move over to full page, and full page just means that it will take you over to a new page where those comments can go ahead and be left. I don't really recommend the pop-up window. The pop-up window is a little awkward for people. All right, next up is who can comment. And in general, you have a couple of options for being able to control commenting. In general, if you have a small business blog, you should be allowing commenting. So you shouldn't disallow commenting. And in this particular case, you want to be able to, and you can see that in Blogger, it doesn't actually give you an option to disallow commenting. It just gives you the option to moderate. So in this particular case, we want to be able to allow registered users. So someone must register as a user in order to be able to comment. You can just say people with Google accounts, or only members of this blog can go ahead and post, or anyone. So anyone can just show up and comment on them, and so on and so forth. I typically say that you should probably have at least a registered user so that you're not having random people leave anonymous comments, because sometimes those people who are leaving anonymous comments will more often than not flare about things that may not be relevant, and also you'll be more susceptible to comment spam. Comment moderation allows you to be able to moderate based on always, sometimes, or never. Sometimes just means that Google's looking at the various things that are going on. It has a set of criteria, and it says, oh, this might be spam. You should look at this before it goes live on the blog. Always means that every comment requires you to approve it. And then, of course, comment moderation of never means that all comments go live the moment the person clicks save on their comment. Okay? Show word verification. This is the, for some people, very annoying CAPTCHA that where it displays an image of numbers and text in a fashion so that only a human would be able to then type those letters and numbers. Sometimes they are difficult to understand, but they do reduce comment spam by and large very effectively. So you probably want to leave it on. Next is showing backlinks. I tend to want to show backlinks. That's because I want to see the activity of the blog or blog on my page when I go to it. So I say show backlinks. Some people think that they're a little bit dirty looking, so that it doesn't make the page look as clean. But if you want it to look more active and see what's going on, I say show the backlinks. And then right below that, finally, is a comment form message. And this is where you're able to go ahead and let people know a little bit about your rules and regulations regarding commenting. Remember, this is your blog. And while commenting is enabled, you should still be able to tell people to keep it clean, keep it respectful, be genuine, be authentic, all of those kinds of things. And also, depending upon the type of blog, you might be asking them to comment in a particular way. So in your business, you might have particular pieces of information where you might have to tell people not to identify other people. If you're working in an industry that has regulations of that nature, or you want to ask every commenter to tell you a little bit about themselves. That can be not only fun and interesting to them to want to share with everyone else, but also it's really great marketing research. So if you ask everyone who comments to leave a little bit of information about themselves, that helps everyone understand the perspective they're coming from when they're commenting on the blog. That can be really helpful. Next up is mobile and email. Oh, but here it caught me because it said save settings before I leave. You should, of course, always click on the Save Settings button before you leave each of these sections along the settings panel, because they do require saving in between. Okay, next up is mobile and email. In this particular case, Google gives you some really, really great tools to be able to post directly to Blogger. One is it allows you to be able to set up a mobile device so that you can literally just SMS or MMS a blog entry directly into the blog. So say I'm walking down the street and I see this amazing billboard, and the billboard has a lot to do with something that I want to talk about relating to my business. Or I'm standing outside of my retail store and we just redid the display, and I'm really proud of the display, and I want to show my blog audience. Well, I could take a picture right with my smartphone and via SMS, or in this case MMS, put the picture in there, write a little description about it, and it will go ahead and via text message to Blogger, it will send that post directly to the Blogger blogs, and it goes live. Okay, so really, really cool to be able to do that. For those of us who are a little bit more email, centric, I'm very email centric, and so you can post also by email to Blogger. So in this case, you can basically take, in this case, it takes your username, and this is the demo account username, and then you add a secret word. So in this case, I'm going to add a secret word, and it can be letters and numbers and symbols and all sorts of other fun stuff. And now this email address, which is in this case W3 Consulting Services secret word 1234 $, blah 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 blah. I just deleted it. Okay, but whatever the secret words were that I put in here, or secret letters, numbers, and symbols, at blogger.com. I'm going to save that into my contacts in my email software. And now when I send an email, the subject line of the email will be the title of the post, and in the body of the message, anything I type in there, including pictures, will become the body of the post. Okay, and then I have a couple of options. So I can save emails as a draft post, or I can completely disable this tool altogether. In most cases, I set it up as save emails as a draft post, and that way when I go back to my computer later, I can see the Blogger entry all set up and fix it, change anything that I need to, and then go ahead and do that. When there's a new comment, Google goes ahead, or Blogger goes ahead and shoots an email message to this particular email address. If I want them to be more than one email address, I can go ahead and type in my regular email address and have Google go ahead and send an email address to both of those email addresses so that I get a notification. If I want to send it along to then my assistant, I can have it send it to my assistant also, so that as many people as necessary are there to be able to handle the comment notification for moderating and so on and so forth. Okay, when I want to be able to send one of these posts, if I go ahead and email a post into the service, I want to also go ahead and mail posts to people whenever I publish a post. So say there are several people on staff that I want to be able to make sure that they always get this particular post, all the posts that I post whenever I post. And so I can go ahead and just type in an email address there, and those will go to it. You can see in here that it limits you up to 10 email addresses. Okay, so this is not for a mass distribution. Just if you want to make sure that you get the post to that whenever you put a post out, you want to make sure it looks good. Then you want to make sure that you go ahead and get it, put yourself on that list so that you get it. You can see what it looks like, and to make sure that it goes out correctly and so forth. Okay. All right. Next up is I'll click on Save Settings. And in this case, I'm going to disable this because I don't need this set up right now. And then I'm going to click on Language and Formatting. All right. So language and formatting, pretty simple. If you're writing in English, you can go ahead and just leave all the default settings. And then you can also, of course, if you have audiences in different languages, you can go ahead and enable transliteration into many different languages. And it's okay. It works. It's palatable. So next is formatting. You can change, of course, to the East Coast time zone, and that way you can, of course, see this in your own time zone. So if you happen not to be in Eastern Standard Time, you can change it to your own. You can also change the date and time format. So if you happen to use 24-hour time or something else like that, you can go ahead and change the date and time format to match those. Actually, I don't see 24-hour clock here. I thought they had 24-hour clock. I think that might be it. I think that's 24-hour clock. But anyway, so you can, of course, go in and change formatting for date and time and language. Okay. Search preferences. In the search preferences, you can, of course, go ahead and direct people from particular places to particular places for purposes of search. Now, this is actually for Google search, not for necessarily someone searching within the blog itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the description under meta tags, and you can see that you want to be able to enable search description, and this is going to be one of those meta tag descriptions that you want to complete. And so remember the original keyword description that you created when we first started under the basic settings. You want to basically condense those 500 words into about 150 words of a keyword description that will then get indexed by Google as well. So that's really important. Next is custom page and custom redirects. In general, this is outside the purview of our discussion today, but if you happen to have lots of error pages or redirections that you need to do for particular posts at some point, this is where you would want to do it. But unless you've moved this blog from another place to here, you really won't have to deal with that, so I'm not going to talk about that. All right, custom robots.txt. In this particular case, you're also going to leave this alone unless you've made some very complex changes to the blog over time. So in general, I say just leave these alone. So I would probably just leave these alone and you'll be fine to go. So the only thing that you would really touch base on the search preferences page is the meta tags description. You want to add that keyword description. All right, down to other. Other allows you to be able to do a couple of things in the unlikely event that Google goes out of business. It's just not going to happen. But you would want to go ahead and export the blog so that you can transfer it somewhere else. The more likely happening is that you're going to be in a place where you grow your Google blog and you want to do something and Blogger doesn't do it, and therefore you want to move to your own blog property, maybe your own website, something like that. So this would be where you would export that blog. It will provide you with the ability to go ahead and download that in an Atom file, and you'll go ahead and take that to your new blog, wherever that might be, and import that into the new blogging service. Okay? You can also delete the blog. So in most cases, if you click on delete, it will ask you to, of course, again, download the blog so that you have the blog in storage format and archive format, and then you can go ahead and delete the blog. So here, under site feed, you have a couple of options, and you have the option to allow the full blog feed. That means whenever anyone pulls the RSS feed, people are going to show the full entry. They're going to see until the jump break, so you can create these things called breaks, and that basically, provides different levels of sections of that particular blog article, and for just this purpose, so that someone has to click on the read more link and come to the blog page in order to be able to read the rest of it. You can use a short format, basically only allowing so many characters, and then a read more link, and then none, which means that you just don't show any text to the blog post. People have to click on the titles in order to come there, and you have some custom options to be able to do that a little bit differently. All right, next is post-feed redirect URL. We're going to talk about that when we get to Feedburner in a couple of minutes. And so you're able to go ahead in there and play around with the redirect URL, but this is where you'll be able to change that in a short while. You can add a post-feed footer. Basically, at the end of your feed, you'd be able to add your own footer and all sorts of other fun stuff. Okay. Guessing you guys probably won't have adult content. And the next item here is under Google Analytics. You would go ahead in here and add your Google Analytics Web Property ID, that UA code. So it'll be UA dash and then a series of numbers. Okay, you want to be able to get that number from Google Analytics. It's free, and then it starts tracking the blog and giving you way more information than the stats can over here. Okay, well that does take us to then the stats board. So you're able to go ahead and see some more information regarding statistics. And you can see here, Google gives you some basic information in the Blogger dashboard. Who's seen your posts? This is basically from the dashboard, where they're coming from in terms of location, and of course traffic referral sources. Okay, they look at the different posts that you've put out, and if I've written any posts or pages, they of course give me some statistics about those, and then some statistics about where they came from. Okay, under traffic sources, under your audience, again, they show you a little bit more information about where those people might be coming from and where they might be going. All right, so you can see some people are coming here from Chrome, some people are coming here from Internet Explorer, and so on and so forth. Okay, and you can see the breakup of Linux, Windows, and Macintosh, and the countries and states that they're coming from as well. Okay, so I'm going to jump now up to or down to layout. Layout is really fun because what it does is it shows you your blog post, and then it allows you to be able to move around different parts of your blog for purposes of it. These are called gadgets, and they're just little plugins that allow you to be able to move things around. In the WordPress world, they're called widgets, and you can see that I can move these things around so that the nav bar shows up in different places, or the navigation bar as it's called. The header to the blog can go in different places, but you can move those things around so that you can change the basic layout of the framework of how the information is displayed. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save the arrangement, and then of course if I ever want to, I can change the template for the blog that I'm currently working in. Now you can see that I have a live basic desktop blog option, and then I have the mobile version. Okay, now you can see that we can go ahead and edit and customize both the live blog in terms of just selecting another template. I can say I just want this simple one to go ahead and be live. I just go ahead and click on apply to blog, and it becomes live. I can customize this and play around with it and all sorts of other fun stuff. So you can see there's lots of different options for being able to display the templates, and playing around with colors and themes and changing headers, adding your logo. All of that fun stuff can be done right here within it. It's just a matter of playing around with it and getting comfortable with the tool. I wouldn't say don't get overly overwhelmed by any of the complexity here. If there's anything that you run into in terms of a problem, go right up to the icon, click on Blogger Help, and there'll be somebody here to be able to do that. The one good thing to do when you do start these is right up here you have a backup and restore button. When you start the process of playing with templates, if you go ahead and create a template and then you edit it, make sure that you immediately download the full template before you start editing it so that you can save that and have a backup so that if you need to go ahead and restore it, you can go ahead and do that. Okay, so if you've made a lot of changes to a template and it's now working the way you want it to, but then you think, oh, you know what, I'd really like to sort of try something different. Well, go ahead, make a backup, then go ahead and play so that you don't lose your prior work. Okay. Next up, we're going to go on over to the posts and pages. So the difference between posts and pages is that you are in the dashboard creating posts, and the posts show up in your RSS feed and show up in the course of the the flow of articles that you're writing. Okay. The pages are static, and they are very similar to your website. So you probably want to create a couple of pages on your blog that are related to your website, and or just making sure that people you have a space to put those kinds of things. So you might have a resources page on the blog, and there are all the resources for things. You might decide that you want a photo gallery on the blog, and you can create a page and then import a photo gallery or embed a photo gallery from Google Photo Albums or something like that. And that gives you the opportunity to create these static pages that you can update or keep there that are not going to show up in your RSS feed. Okay, so it's really the only difference. One is not going to show up in the feed, the other is going to show up in the feed. They're both indexed by Google, just it's easier to manage lots of articles using posts than to manage a lot of articles using pages, okay, because the pages you have to work with the navigation, and they don't have really a hierarchy, okay, so they're not really the same in a lot of ways. Okay, so what I haven't shown you is actually creating a new post, so I'm just going to do that really quickly, and then I'm going to take us over to Feedburner, and then we can start any questions that you might have. So over in the Blogger dashboard, when you open up a post, you can see that you have this composed window, and you have the opportunity to create a title. So right at the top, you can give it a title. So my first blog post title. All right, and so that goes there. In the window below that, you can see right above you have a dashboard. It's very similar to a Microsoft Word kind of dashboard, but it has a couple of special icons that allow you to be able to manipulate a blog post as opposed to a Word document. But you would basically write your blog post here, and as you write more, you can just keep writing, right? If I wanted to, I can go ahead and put in that jump break that we talked about earlier in the RSS feed. I can change this to a heading and a subheading or a minor heading. I can go ahead and change the font and just, go around and do whatever you normally do with posts. You just can edit right there live in the screen. All right, if at any point I want to go ahead and just kill all the text formatting, there's a remove formatting button, and you can see that it just turns it right back to static text. Okay, there's undo and redo, so you can go ahead and play with those. This is in the compose screen. If I click on HTML, you can see that Google then takes away most of the options for me and just gives me this HTML view of what I was just working in. All right, so if you're more comfortable with HTML, you can go ahead right into the HTML view and do that. Whenever you're going to be posting or embedding content, say you're going to embed a video or an image or anything else like that, you're probably going to have to get a little bit comfortable with HTML and just learn a little bit about where to be able to post those things. Most often than not, if you get them from another service, they're going to give that to you in code, and you're going to want to post that into HTML, which just means that you need to figure out where in the HTML here to put it so that it shows up in the right place. Okay? Most often than not, that's not a difficult task. So just pay attention to what you're posting it in, so that you're getting it in the right spot. Okay? And Google gives you these little cool tools. You can add or remove hyperlinks. You can add an image directly into a post using this little window, and of course you can also add video using that window also. And so it just pops up. It gives you the option to choose video from your own phone or webcam. You can use your own YouTube videos to post in here, or other YouTube videos that you can search from. Okay. So then what you do is you can save the post, you can schedule the post for any time, a day, or whenever you want to, or you can set it to automatic, which just goes ahead and publishes it live. So I can choose a specific date and time when I want that post to go live, and all sorts of other fun stuff. Okay, you can see that this is still showing a specific daylight time, but I'm guessing that's because it hasn't held my, or I didn't change the setting to Eastern Standard Time. Labels are basically tags for that particular post, so it contextualizes the post, and so you can put the keywords for that particular post. That allows you to be able to search later for all posts where I, keyword tagged or labeled, shoes, or whatever it might be that you'd like to be able to categorize. So it helps you just quickly jump to particular contexts of things within your system. Next, you can have automated permalinks, or you can customize permalinks so that you can go ahead and do that. I would say just let Google automate the permalinks and be done with it unless you have a very good reason for it. You can also add a location to your posts if you want to geolocate them, and I'd really recommend for any local retail business that you go ahead and do that. Then, of course, you can change some of these things here, and per post you can allow or disallow reader comments per the individual post. So in this particular case, you can go ahead and say, I do or don't want reader comments on this one post. Then down here, you can, of course, allow or disallow backlinks. You can look at the compose windows, HTML. I'm not going to get into any of those. Okay, so you have some other options there within it. So I'm going to click on Save. When you're ready to publish, you click on Publish, and you're good to go. Okay, when we go back to Blogger dashboard, you can now see that I have my blog post here. It's in draft format, and I can, of course, go in here and click on the checkbox and click Publish, and it will go live, okay? Or it will go live when I've scheduled it to go live. Now, that's pretty much all I'm going to discuss regarding Blogger, because I do want to show you the new, Feedburner before we drop off, and I've only got a couple more minutes. So I'm going to hop on over to Feedburner, and what Feedburner is when I was showing you here over in the templates here, this section under Search Preferences, we had the opportunity to go ahead and, oh no, where was it? Forgive me, we were in posts and comments. Sorry, it was under Other. It gives you the opportunity to post a feed redirect URL. And what that does is it helps us track better information from people who are using RSS feed readers. That is, if you follow many different blogs in the same space, I as a consumer of blog reading, I want to make sure that I control the way in which I receive information. For those people, which you can have many people subscribing, the Feedburner helps you track and maintain those people, okay? So in this particular case, Blogger itself is going to give me a particular feed URL, okay? And this feed here is and should be useful to the blog, the person who has many different blog entries. So in this particular case, I'm just going to take this URL here, the public URL, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to hop over to Feedburner. So if you just go to feedburner.com, it will redirect you to this page and you'll have to log in. Again, just log in using your Google account. And so feedburner.com, you log in, it says welcome to Feedburner. And you just go right in here and you just paste in your blog URL. And it will automatically look for your feed and know that that's the case. If you happen to decide to use Blogger as a podcast tool, just click on the podcast tool so it tracks downloads. It'll attach to it what's called a UTM code, basically uniform tracking code, so that it knows when people download media. Okay, I'm going to click on Next, and voila, it goes ahead and says, hey, look at that, you have two different kinds of feeds. I'm going to choose the RSS feed as opposed to the Atom feed. In general, you want to choose the RSS feed. So now that I have it, it says, hey, you have this feed that is called Small Business Blog, and you may want to leave it that way just because that's the name of your blog. Down here it says feed address, and see how it says blogspot / UHVJL. You can go ahead and change that so that it's a different blog address. So in this particular case, you want to be able to create a feed address that's a little bit more friendly, and I'm going to click on Next, and there it is. My Feedburner feed is now live, and I'll probably want to go into the system and sort of play around with it. Except now this feed, I'm going to copy again. I'm going to go back to Blogger and see where it says Post Feed Redirect URL. I'm going to click Add, and there I'm going to go ahead and post that feed redirect URL. Okay? Uh-oh. There's a space there. Okay, and so now when someone clicks on the feed link on the blog, or they go to try and find the feed, it will redirect them to Feedburner to be able to subscribe to the feed using Feedburner. Okay, that's pretty much it. Now within Feedburner, there's so many different tools, so I'm not going to try and go into it today, but you can play around with all the various tools and just sort of see what they're all about. Okay. But Feedburner has one particular thing that allows you to be able to also control the URL of the feed itself. So if you click on My Account up here in the top right-hand corner, I'm sorry I'm rushing through this, we're almost up to time. So it has the My Brand. Under My Account I went to, you go to My Brand, and under My Brand you're basically going to do the same thing that we did with regard to the blog.yourbusinessname.com, except this one's going to be feeds. Your businessname.com. And now the feed itself will also be branded. Okay, so now instead of this one being the feeds.feedburner link, it'll now be feeds.yourbusinessname.com, and that's what you'll replace here. Okay, so that's another way to just control your brand and your marketing, so that should something happen with Feedburner, you can now control that by just redirecting the feeds to your new feed service. Okay, so go ahead and follow this service and activate it under My Brand. But then once you go back to Feedburner now, within the Feedburner system, you have Analyze, Optimize, Publicize, and Troubleshoot. And they put troubleshoot eyes, but it's just troubleshoot. And so under Analyze, it gives you lots of information about your blog subscribers, and so it will tell you some information about them, who's subscribing, what are they doing with the information, where are they coming from. Under Optimize, Optimize gives you a whole bunch of different tools for being able to optimize your feed so it looks nicer when someone comes to the blog. And then finally, Publicize is where you can go ahead and add different features to the feed itself to be able to help syndicate that, including email subscriptions and all sorts of other fun tools. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna close up. I know we're at time, but if anyone has any questions, I'll let Tracy close out, and I'm happy to stay and answer any questions that anyone might have.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and close out, right, because we don't have any questions. So as I'm closing out, if anybody has any questions, feel free to type those into the question window. Thank you all for participating today. Today's webinar was recorded and will be posted on the Virginia SBDC website under live webinars and recordings. Tomorrow you'll be receiving a follow-up email on the webinar, and there'll be an evaluation in that email. Please take the time to fill that out and provide us feedback to help us to improve our training. I have just posted that in the chat window as well if you'd like to fill that out now. So I don't see any questions, Ray, so
Okay,
we'll go ahead and close out. And thank you all for participating today.